1977 was an amazing year for rock and roll music. There were so many albums like Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, The Eagles' Hotel California, Kiss's Love Gun, Billy Joel's The Stranger, Foreigner's debut album, Queen's News of the World. Cheap Trick released their first and second album. Man, that's a lot of awesome albums right there. Like at first when I was writing all this stuff down, I was just thinking of ones that came into my head, and then I started actually looking at what albums came out in 1977. Like, how can that many good albums come out in one year? But as good as those albums might be, there's one that I hold in the highest regard. On the 7th day of the 7th month, Styx released their 7th album, The Grand Illusion. And boy, what an album that is. Here's the thing with Styx. You probably know 2 songs by this band if you're not a huge fan. Those songs would be Babe and Mr. Roboto. The former being the band's only #1 song, a love ballad, and the second one being Mr. Roboto. If you clicked on this video, your stomach might be twisting and turning at the thought of more cheesy and hippie music. And you're absolutely right. There's plenty more with that with Styx. I'm not gonna lie to anybody on that. But it's not the exact same style of music as those songs. One of my pet peeves related to other people's perception of Styx is that it all fits into one style of music, and that just couldn't be any further from the truth. I believe that that's something that portrays this album incredibly well. Every single song, while having the same tone, is so incredibly diverse and different from each and every song before it. But let's talk about where the band was at this point in their career. Originally a group of these guys, this guy left the band, opening a spot for this guy to come in, forming what many refer to as the classic lineup of the band, since they can't really be called the original lineup. This consisted of Dennis DeYoung on keyboard, Tommy Shaw and James Young on guitars, Chuck Panozzo on bass, and John Panozzo on the drums. Styx had seen moderate success with Lady off of their second album, and Equinox, the band's 5th album and first with A&M, and Crystal Ball, the first album with Tommy Shaw, both saw moderate success as well. But this album, The Grand Illusion, is the breakthrough album of the band, reaching triple platinum certification. I fully believe that the 3 songwriters, DeYoung, Shaw, and JY, all gelled perfectly on this album. And before we take a look at these songs, the 3 songwriters all handle lead vocals on different songs, typically the ones that they had the lead writing role in. Once I figured out there was more than one singer in this band, I was hooked. There's plenty of other bands like this, like the Beatles, the Eagles, and Kiss, and these bands have always interested me because they have this different style in all of their music. There's definitely something different between Paul McCartney songs and John Lennon songs, Don Henley and Glenn Frey, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, you could keep on going. But those bands all have one similar style, and Styx definitely has one style, but they are so much more diverse in that. Each of Styx's vocalists have something to offer that the other just doesn't sometimes. Dennis DeYoung songs typically have a poppier sound to them, Tommy Shaw songs are typically more rock and roll, while JY songs are hard and heavy, sometimes even going into the metal genre. But each vocalist has no problem straying away from the stereotypical comfort zone that they get lumped into. The album starts off with one of the greatest song intros out of any album. The title track, The Grand Illusion, features lyrics of a show beginning and wanting to be part of that fantasy, but bringing to light that it really is just someone else's fantasy, and that deep inside we're all the same, capable of greatness. Totally not cheesy, right? The song isn't heavy, but it's rock and roll through and through. And Dennis DeYoung's voice brings so much life to the track. This song typically gets radio play on most radio stations, and I don't know of many people that turn the station when it comes on. The album then transitions into the very prog-influenced Fooling Yourself, with Tommy Shaw's southern charm blasting through behind what I believe is one of the most underrated acoustic guitar parts out of any song in rock and roll history. The song changes time signatures, features a synthesizer breakdown, and soaring harmonies that drive the point of the song home. Fooling Yourself is a bop, there's no way around it. The third song on the album, Superstars, it's alright. I really like this song. but it's so easily overshadowed by the other songs on the album. The guitars and harmonies are definitely standouts on this track, but it's one of those songs that you have to be in the right mood to listen to it if you're not a diehard Styx fan. And even then, the band never performed this song live until 2011, and it's seen pretty regular play in their tracklist history, so that counts for something, I guess. But you want to know why Superstars is so easily overlooked? Well, it's between Fooling Yourself and the next track, Come Sail Away. Yeah, you probably know this one, even if you don't realize you know it. I would say without any hesitation that it's the most popular song on the album, and some might even say it's the most popular Styx song, and I wouldn't have any problem agreeing with them on the right day. That famous piano intro, DeYoung's incredibly high-pitched vocal opening, two things that make the first half of the song a dreamy piano ballad, but then halfway through the song, the band assaults you with some of the heaviest chords in rock and roll. And I'm not just over-exaggerating. The contrast in the two halves of these songs makes you think you're hearing a completely different song. And that chorus. You can't not get that chorus stuck in your head. You flip the album over to the B-side, and don't think that just because it's the B-side of the album, that it's B-side material. If anything, the band only picks up speed. The second half of the album starts with a spacey synthesizer intro, and then blasts the greatest riff of all time, at least according to me. You know, not that I'm biased or anything. Miss America is a hard and heavy rocker, my personal favorite song of all time. Fun fact, this is the song that made me want to learn how to play guitar in the first place. This is the only song that James Young sings lead on, but his rock and roll growl drives home this song to be a Styx classic. Something that definitely doesn't match the Roboto crowd. The next song is, according to Tommy Shaw, an unofficial sequel to Kansas' song Dust in the Wind, titled Man in the Wilderness. This song features less keyboards, but they're still there, don't worry about that, and relies more on the guitars. You get an acoustic sound from Shaw and the electric grit from JY, and then halfway Tommy switches over to his electric for the solo in the second half of the song. The song is heavy, and not the type of heavy you use to refer to Metallica. I mean heavy in terms of a song that makes you feel emotions you didn't know you could feel from a song. Listen to this song with headphones sometimes. It's truly epic. Following the somber, heavy sound, Castle Walls, the last quote-unquote real song on the album, is a medieval-inspired tune with DeYoung singing some truly haunting lyrics. There's even a keyboard breakdown that you could tell me was a piece from Beethoven or Bach, and I would have no trouble believing you. It sounds that good. This is definitely an epic song, but this one's definitely not for everyone either. I say that the previous song was the last real song on the album, and that's because the grand finale is a sort of reprise, or reprise, I honestly don't know how to say it, of the album. It features elements of the title track, Come Sail Away, and Superstars in a kind of mashup, but not the traditional sense of mashup you think of with Glee songs. Honestly, you could never know this song existed, and you'd be fine. If I had to pick 3 songs you absolutely had to listen to if you didn't have the time to sit down and listen to the full album, I would have to go with Come Sail Away, Fooling Yourself, and Miss America. 3 songs from each of the 3 lead singers that I think give you the best impressions of this album. And if you had to pick one song to stay away from, unfortunately, I'd have to go with Superstars. It's a great song, but it's only a great song after you listen to it a bunch of times and you get a real appreciation for Styx and their deeper cuts. And you shouldn't have to listen to a song a bunch of times to really get that appreciation of it. I'm not saying it's a bad song, it's just definitely not the best. I adore this band. This is definitely not the last Styx album we'll be taking a look at on this show, but I will try to spread it out between the others so we don't have Styx overload. But I couldn't think of a better album to start this show with. This is the best introduction to what Styx truly is all about. I love Mr. Roboto. I love Babe. But this is the Styx sound that I fell in love with. Travel back to 1977 and fall in love with this fantastic album. Thank you so much for checking out the channel today. This is the first episode of the Coach Max Jukebox, part of a show that what I really want this channel to be about. Something where I can show my love for video games, movies, and music, all in one place. I'm planning on reviewing Billy Joel's The Stranger album next on the show, and that's another great album from 1977. Make sure you stay on the channel to check that one out. Until next time, see you later. The second half starts with a spacey